what's that instrument called you're playing?
I am playing on the Jamboree, and
Ooh.
that is an LC product, LC20 as the product number. And the first thing I want to say about it is that we're looking at a piece of furniture. All the instruments in this series that we're talking about today, they're all laid out the same way. Um, so the main thing to understand is to get the language. There's a little variable on language depending on which series of instruments you have, and the language got a little bit more user friendly, but they still mean the same thing. So I thought I would clarify that. The blue buttons, once upon a time they were called rhythms. Now on the director, it's called Rhythm Plus Orchestration. Okay, on some of the newer products, it's called music styles. Some use the word orchestration, some don't. So, but they all mean the same thing. The blue buttons on the left on all instruments, that's your rhythm background style, if you will. So, we have a rhythm preset also. It's also known as a style setup. They're the same thing. And what it does is when I choose my rhythm, whichever background I want, if the rhythm preset light is lighted, illuminated, I should say, then it will choose a sound on the right-hand side of the instrument for you so that you don't have to push any buttons. And that makes it very, very easy. The benefit for you is good sound. It matches whichever style or rhythm that you choose, and you don't have to really touch a lot of buttons. So I'm going to start now and play you a tune. This button is called Big Band. That's the background. It's also the other language. It's also known as standards, but it's all the same and it all sounds great. If I had the right one, it would be great. There we go. All right, that was a little bit to get you in the mood, if you will, and then we had a little bit of all of me that goes with it nicely as well. I wanted to say something. On all instruments, you have a master volume, and I don't know if you know this or not, but the master volume overrides your expression pedal. So in other words, if you have your master volume turned down, and you have your expression pedal all the way, as we would call it, to the floor, as loud as it'll go, it will still only go to the percentage of what the master volume is set at. So what I like to do, I like to keep my master volume up, all the way up, and then control the volume with my foot pedal. So that's just a little tidbit for you to know. The master volume always overrides the expression pedal volume. And usually next to it you have this button called reverb amount. And a lot of people say, I really don't understand what reverb is. Well, reverb, depending on the size of the room, sometimes you want more reverb or less reverb. The only other word I can use to describe reverb would be echo. Puts a little echo in the sound to make the sound bigger or smaller, depending on what you want to do with it. And that is true on all instruments that have reverb. At the intermediate level and up, everybody has reverb. There's many different types of reverb you can set, depending on what you like to hear. Then we have a button called lower, and sometimes it's called lower sounds. Those are for the sounds that are on your left hand chords, not the background, but whatever sounds are on for the lower chords. That's the volume for that, and you can either have your chords a little bit louder, or you can back them off and have them softer. On the Jamboree, which is what I'm sitting at right now, there are 20 built-in songs, and that's kind of really cool because you can play along with it. So I'm going to go over to Song Select, and I'm going to push play, and it's going to play for me Dry Bones. Now, if I want to play along with it, I'll touch the play along button, and I can play also. Great teaching tool because you're able to, if you just want to work on learning the right hand, you're able to play the right hand. It plays along with you, so you don't have to play your chords. You could just sit and play your right hand. So that's a really nice feature. And again, there's 20 built-in songs on the Jamboree, which is a lot of fun to be able to play with. I also did not mention, but on these rhythm styles that we have, or rhythm plus orchestration is what they're called on this, there's a variation button. So that means that every button actually has 2 different rhythms. And I'm going to go over here to my Easy Latin, and I'm going to touch my variation. And instead of getting a bossa nova, I'm going to get a rumba. Listen to this. Now, what you did hear me do is I touched one button. It was called AOC, and AOC is my harmony. So even though I was playing one note in my right hand, it was adding two others to make it sound like I'm playing with three fingers, but I'm only playing with one. That's a way cool feature to make everybody sound as professional as they can. Now, I'm going to take a little move right now, and I'm going to
Hey,
move
Joni.
over
Hey,
to
Joni,
the
we've got a
next.
question about playing along with the recordings. Can you set the speed or change the tempo of that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can slow it down, you can speed it up, you can modify it to meet and do whatever you want it to do so that you
Whee!
can play comfortably. What was the other part of the question, Sean?
Oh, just if you can set the tempo for that was it. It
Yes.
was Dee Dee in the chat. Said that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm sliding over here now
When,
to the Premiere. All right. So this is the Premiere. This is the model SE30. And again, it's set up the same as all the other instruments. However, I do want you to take a little bit of note because now we're getting some very, very nice furniture. It's a
ooh,
piece of furniture for us. First of all, you see that it has what we call a music rack extender. So the extender drops down about a half of an inch and brings it forward to you, so closer for you to be able to see. So that's a really um, valuable thing, especially when you're having a little bit of trouble with your eyes. The other thing we have now, oh, beautiful, beautiful. Check that out. We have a roll top so that when you go out or away, you can pull the roll top down and keep everything covered up. So that's a very, very nice feature and benefit for you. We have 36 rhythms or rhythm plus orchestration, as it is called over here as well, or rhythmic backgrounds, whatever you want to call it. There are 36 of them. And I'm going to go here to my little easy Latin. My Latin 1, I believe, is going to give me a little bit of this. Take a listen. Now, what you got to hear me play now is called the lower right split. In other words, how many keyboards do you see versus how many do we have? We see two keyboards. We have three because this lower right split gives me the ability to not only be able to play on the lower keyboard, but it gives me a different sound. So for every sound that I have here, I have a different one down here, which leads me into talking about rhythm preset or style setup, if you will. the rhythm preset, I now have 10 rhythm presets. That means for each background that I choose, each rhythm that I choose to play, I have 10 different sounds that I can just touch one button and totally change this sound and change the lower right split. What a benefit that is. You could choose any number or all the numbers. So let's go here. Let's see. I'll do it with a little march. And my variation gives me a swing march, which is a 6/8 march. And I'm just going to go and keep changing these rhythm presets so you can hear all the different sounds that it gives me. Take a listen. Wow, that was really fun. I hope you enjoyed that. And as you could see, I was just touching one button. I went all of them in a row. You can do them in a row. You can skip around if you want, but the sounds are there. And not only that, but I don't know if you noticed, on certain sounds that I chose, it added a harmony on there for me too. I didn't have to touch any buttons at all. That's the benefit. It gives it all for you. The chefs at Lowry have formulated it to make you sound just great. And speaking of harmonies, I now have 4 different harmonies. I have my AOC, which is the one we talked about on the Jamboree, but I also have duet, which adds 1 note. I also have 3-part, which adds 2 more notes to my one. And then I have 4-part, which adds 4. So you can sound as full as you want and still only need to use 1 finger. And that's the benefit for us. We can be at the level we are. Excuse me. We can play at the level we're playing at, but the button does it for us and makes us sound a lot better, and that's what we like. So I'm going to go to a little blues now. It's called Rhythm and Blues, and it's a slow, easy blues on my variation button, and very, very nice for, you know, nice, pretty music. Okay, my great photographer tells me that we have some questions. Do you have any questions, Sean?
Not that I see at the moment, but if anybody has any, you can raise your hand or unmute if you would like.
No?
I
Another
don't see.
song that goes with that rhythm really nicely that I found when I thought I was going to play it when I started, and in my head, just my fingers took over and played a different song. But Moonglow, Moonglow is a real nice song for that rhythm. So I thought I was going to play Moonglow, and when I heard the first few notes, I was like, well, this is a different song, isn't it? But that's all the fun you can have. All my interest in being the facilitator for this, which I think is very exciting every time we get to do it. And my interest is just so you can see how much fun you can have. There's all different sizes of instruments, there's all different prices of instruments. But the bottom line is, as a hobbyist, which is what it is for you, you can be having tons of fun and you can be sounding great with very little playing ability. The better you play, the better you'll sound. If you're a beginner player, you're going to sound great because of what all the features do for you. I'm going to go to another style here. This is called Contempo. And this is on my variation button, this is a disco rhythm. And I think you'll really like this one a lot. This is very nice. Isn't that a great background? I just think that's so much fun. So I'm going to mention again in the Information Center on a Premiere, which is what I'm on right now, we have a larger Information Center so it can share more information to communicate with you, which is a great thing. The larger the screen, the more technology allows it to communicate with us. So now I'm going to go to my Latin 2, and I'm going to get a tango. And it's really kind of fun that on this Premiere, which is an SE30, that we could finally have a tango. We didn't have a tango before this, but this is kind of a real cool song. It's called Andalucia, but a lot of people know it as The Breeze and I. Wow, how fun was that? And that little interlude you were listening to, that was me hitting the FX. I use the foot switch, but we have a button as well. On some instruments, it's now called the fill. FX, fill, it's still the same thing, and it adds musicians to come in, especially when you're holding, let's say, a whole note or a tie. It's a great place to use the fill or FX. Another time is when you lose your place, which happens to all of us. Lose your place, hit the fill, hit the FX, and it'll keep going and playing, and then you'll find your way back to your place. If you have to turn the page, isn't that just so troublesome when you have to turn the page in music and go to page 3 and your fingers are slipping and you can't quite get it? Hit the FX or the fill. Another really great time to use it. So, and all the patterns of the fills, or FX if you will, on this instrument, all the patterns are totally different. That's the benefit for you. They make those patterns match whatever music style, rhythm plus orchestration background, whichever one you choose, it's got a specially made FX for that rhythm style. So that's a real benefit to all of them being different, and we love different because it keeps it interesting for us. Now I'm going to go to a button called Ragtime, and on my variation I have a honky tonk. But if I don't turn on my variation, I get a Joplin stride. Great for, guess what? Alley cat, right? Phil, FX. Phil, FX. How is that? That's fun. Something that's really special when you get to the premiere and up, of course, is we have this button called Song Setup. Song Setup is marvelous for several different reasons. Great benefit to help hobbyists. You find the song title that you want, and the way I do that is I touch Song Setup, and then I scroll. And I scroll till I get to the title that I want to play. And when I do, I touch enter. And now all the lights changed. It set everything up for me. I have to touch no buttons. Even the intro is on for me. So all I have to do is begin to play. And it sounds like this. Phil. FX. There's number 10. Hit my fill and my touch my ending, but my ending will not activate until I let go of the FX. When I let go of that, now the ending's going to kick in for me. Here it is. cool is that? Isn't that great? I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. Um, we also have what's called an A bank, and that is right here. And this button, and it will give me what's called the Sweet Lowry sounds, which are all the pretty flutes, sounds, combinations that you can imagine. And that, when you use your A bank sounds, that utilizes all of these, what we call tabs or buttons on the Premiere. It utilizes all those. So that's a very good use of it. But the other thing the A bank allows us to do is to set up the instrument on whatever sound you want it to be and whatever rhythm you're going to choose, and then memorize it. And you can memorize and put it into A1. And so when you come back and you touch A1, there's your whole setup for you. And you have 10 opportunities to memorize. So you could have 10 different setups, and the only buttons you will touch is right in the middle, just above your hand, to get those sounds. So you can store the things that you really like to store, the sounds, the rhythms, everything. It will memorize everything for you. And that's the first of several banks that we have when we get to the elite instruments. But the fact that we can be on an intermediate level instrument and have an A bank, that's awesome. So it's twofold purpose. It gives you Sweet Lowry sounds, 10 of them if you want them, or it allows you to save your favorite sounds into the A bank. So that's real special. We also on the Premiere have now 2 different category presets, as they're called. And what that means is when I touch my big band here, that makes all 10 of these sounds be big band sounds. And so I can go in a row or I can jump around, but they'll all be sounds that are indicative that you would hear in big band music. Then if I go over here and touch my Latin, now all 10 of these sounds have become Latin sounds that go with Latin music. So instead of having to go over and hunt and look and try to find what you want, you don't have to do that anymore. I just turn on my category, and when I turn on my category, they all become the right sounds for the style of music I want to play. And usually we have the question of, well, if I'm not playing big band, can I still use those sounds? Yes, you can. You can use the big band sounds, and maybe you want to put it to a polka or a ballad. Yes, you can. You have all 10 big band sounds no matter what rhythm background you are using. Same is true with Latin. Do I have to play a Latin song to use my Latin category? No. You can play any song you want, any style, and still use the Latin category presets or setups, as we call them in the new language, and we will find that all of these will be Latin. So they're kind of grouped as a benefit for you. They're grouped together so that you don't have to go finding each one that you want. And it makes it very, very convenient for you to be able to move your way around, change your sounds a lot, because that's what makes an arrangement sound so great, when we change our sounds. If we play from the beginning of a piece of music to the very end using only one sound, you can get bored. It doesn't keep your interest. But when I can keep hearing a different sound come in just by touching one of these buttons, then it makes the song very, very interesting. And that's what makes the hobby fun. And that's what we want. We want you to like what you play and play what you like. That's what's important. Do we have any questions? I can't quite see the computer, so I don't know if there are or not, but I thought I'd take a little break and see.
I don't see any hands raised at the moment.
Well, then we just have a really brilliant group of people on
Yeah.
today, Sean.
I don't even see any confused looks except maybe Jerome's face, but I think he just looks like that. So, um, yeah, seems
Well,
all good.
that's good. Then I guess we're making sense, aren't we? So I'm going to talk one more thing about as far as buttons go, and that is Harmonies. It's really neat. We had AOC on the Jamboree, as I described to you. Well, when we get to the premiere, oh my goodness, I have 4 different harmonies. I have AOC, I have duet, which adds another note. I have 3-part, and then I have 4-part. Now you can use your harmony buttons, as I said, anytime you want on any sounds, and it'll just make me sound like I'm using all my fingers, but I don't have to do it. One button does it for me. And this is at the beginning of us in the intermediate level of instruments, because now we have a music recorder. So, and your question is, why would I want to record myself? Well, I'll tell you, when you record yourself, it's not to listen to see if you made a note mistake. That's not what the music recorder is for. The music recorder is for you to be able to step away from the instrument and listen to what you're hearing. Because when you're playing and you're reading the music and you're finding your left hand chords and you're concentrating on the right hand notes and you're so busy, you don't get to hear all of what's going on in your instrument. And that's why I say, as an educator by trade, you should record yourself once a week and just turn it on and listen, not to hear a mistake, but to hear the whole orchestra being played, whereby you can listen and really pay attention to it and not be concentrating on doing all the playing yourself. So that is a very, very helpful and beneficial feature, the music recorder. And it's also really neat because when you play back your recording and you listen and you go, wow, I sound a lot better than I did 2 months ago. You know, you have a track record there to be able to tell and listen to your progress and give yourself a little pat on the back, which everybody should do for themselves at some point in time. So that concludes me sharing the premiere and the jamboree with you. Once again, I'll ask, do you have any questions? And then I was going to end with a tune, but I think Sean may have some announcements for you first. So questions, or Sean, take it away.
Any questions at all? I don't see any confused looks. That's great. That is a good thing, I'd say. Just a couple things to keep in mind. Let me show you this. If you are in Arizona, make sure you know that for everybody else but us, the time has changed. So make sure you're aware. If you look at the class schedule on our website, which should say classes and events at the top, and you have calendars for all the different types of events we do, the variety class, which is every week. Um, this week we have Mr. Robert Roman teaching, and he has something very special he wants to talk about. So he's got a good class worked up for that. That is going to be Wednesday and Thursday this week, 2 p.m. Eastern time and 12 p.m. Arizona time. So it's a little different for us Arizonans. If you go to product feature classes, we still have a list of all the product feature classes coming up, just like we had today. So if you own maybe a different product than she talked about today, you're welcome to come to any of these, whether you own it or not. Just come and learn some stuff. So that's all I wanted to mention as far as that goes. And we will have more coming up for you. So check your emails and make sure you're going through everything and looking at the calendars. And that's about all I've got. So I'll give it back to Joni, and she is going to play a song on our way out. And here is Joni.
All right. I hope you enjoyed the presentation as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. And if you come up with any questions that you do have, we're always available. You can contact your local personal assistant, or globally now we're starting to share. So if you are in Florida and you want to talk to Sean, you can call Sean. If you're in Arizona and you want to talk to me, you can call me. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. That's what we're here for, to help you. And I'm going to just go fly away right now. Thanks for having me. Well, I'm getting there. There I am. So thanks again for having me. Have a wonderful afternoon and stay well.
Thank you, Joni.
You're welcome. My pleasure.